trained eagle can take down a drone worth thousands of euros in less than 20 seconds. And that's just the beginning. Today, we're stepping into a world where nature is challenging technology. An incredible and thrilling story of hunting eagles that spot drones in the sky as prey, or even as enemies. It's here that we truly realize just how much smarter nature is than we ever thought. So stay with me until the end of this video as we uncover this strange secret and find out how eagles are able to hunt down rogue and dangerous drones, and what story lies behind it all. Imagine you're in the middle of a huge concert hall or near an airport, and suddenly a drone appears in the sky, flying without permission. This small drone quickly turns into a serious threat. It might cause disturbances, potentially take photos of people, violate their personal privacy, gather sensitive information, or worst of all, it could have truly malicious intentions and cause an explosion in the blink of an eye. But let me tell you right here about a strange project that started in France in 2016. According to a Reuters news report, for golden eagles were trained by the French Air Force to go to war against drones. The way these eagles were trained was that, from the time they were chicks, to make them see drones as prey or a target, they were raised in nests that were placed directly on top of inactive drone bodies. This way, when the eagle chicks hatched, they would see that there was a drone in their environment. More specifically, this method was inspired by the principles of imprinting in birds. That is, whatever a bird sees or experiences in the very first moments after birth, it considers that to be a fundamental part of its world. In short, as the eagle chicks continue to grow, they learn to eat alongside the drone. In other words, during the earliest feeding stages, the chicks would receive food next to or even on the drone, which made them familiar with this mechanical object from the very beginning and prevented them from being afraid of it. But mental conditioning was an important part of training the eagles. Gradually, through reward-based exercises, the eagles were taught to attack a drone whenever it was in the air, because the appearance of the drone meant their reward would be pieces of meat or fish. In this way, the drone took the place of a tasty prey in their minds, and was no longer a strange or dangerous object whose shape and sound would instinctively scare the eagle away from mechanical flying devices. In other words, the eagles were trained from a young age so that when released, their hunting instinct would kick in and they would attack the drone. They would grab it with their talons and bring it down safely so they could get a tasty reward. It's quite interesting to know that regarding this particular development, the French Air Force General Jean-Christophe Zimmermann, at the significant Mont-de-Marsan military base in southwestern France, stated in an interview with Reuters that these trained eagles can effectively detect and neutralize drones from several thousand meters away. Alright, let's get a bit more familiar with the Mont-de-Marsan military base. This base is one of the key centers of the French Air Force and, in fact, was the site of a project where eaglets were trained from a young age to detect and hunt unauthorized drones. An interesting point about this base is its strategic location and its wide, secure airspace, which seems ideal for training eagles in real and controlled conditions. But another truly interesting thing to note is that the Dutch also effectively utilized this very same French method to train their magnificent birds of prey specifically against drones. In fact, in the Netherlands, the Dutch police force collaborated with a company called Guard from Above to train birds of prey, especially powerful eagles, to effectively intercept hostile drones and unmanned aerial vehicles. Interestingly, in France, golden eagles were used for this training, but in the Netherlands, they used white-tailed sea eagles, which are native to northern Europe and coastal areas. Both the golden eagle and the white-tailed sea eagle have a unique combination of features, including extremely strong talons, high carrying capacity, great intelligence, controlled flight, and the courage to attack large objects. But aside from the white-tailed sea eagle, the Netherlands also used another bird to intercept drones, the northern goshawk. The reason for using this bird was its speed and agility, with high maneuverability in confined and urban spaces. Of course, goshawks were mostly used for pursuit and early warning, as well as attacking smaller drones, and in a way, they complemented the white-tailed sea eagle in training projects for birds of prey to intercept drones. You should know that using such a powerful combination, which included large birds of prey like the majestic sea eagle and faster, more agile birds such as the swift goshawk, allowed for effectively neutralizing a wider range of drones. You should also know that currently, the use of birds of prey to hunt drones in the Netherlands has been stopped because this project had high training costs. Additionally, keeping eagles was challenging and expensive, and sometimes the behavior of some birds was even unpredictable. At the same time, there wasn't much demand or enthusiasm for using this method either. As a result, this project was stopped in the Netherlands after just over a year, in December 2017, and the eagles were relocated to other suitable places. However, despite the project being halted in the Netherlands, the use of birds of prey to counter drones is still ongoing in France. But this training has mostly remained a limited experimental option, used as a supplement, integrated with other methods, and as an innovative approach, not a complete replacement for other methods. It's important to know that projects like these, where living creatures are used to counter drones, always have their supporters and opponents. Supporters say this method isn't dangerous and is actually considered environmentally friendly. Also, in places where conventional anti-drone methods are ineffective or simply not feasible, using eagles or other living creatures seems like an ideal solution. On the other hand, using eagles to hunt drones causes less collateral damage compared to other methods. And in fact, this approach greatly reduces the risk of drones crashing into the environment or people. But opponents argue that drones might harm the birds. In fact, although this method is indeed effective, there are still significant concerns that eagles might potentially get injured while hunting these drones, especially larger or very fast drones with sharp, rotating blades. There are also concerns about the physical and mental health of the birds after repeated contact with man-made technologies. On the other hand, animal rights groups believe that we should respect the natural lives of birds and that we have no right to involve them in our technological battles. But personally, I think using eagles to control drones is an amazing idea. It's a creative blend of science and nature. Of course, I also understand the concerns about the bird's health. I think for this method to be fully accepted, we need to take special precautions. For example, we could use protective covers for the eagle's talons or limit the amount of daily training so that the bird's health isn't harmed. A veterinarian should also constantly monitor the birds. But what do you think? Do you believe that we humans have the right to seek help from nature or not? No animal should be involved in such operations. I mean, just like we use sniffer dogs for detecting drugs, is using eagles to intercept drones justifiable, and does it have a place in the modern world or not? Write your opinion in the comments and let us know what other creative ways or ideas you know for dealing with drones. In short, nature, with all its beauty and courage, can respond to modern threats. So we should never underestimate the power of nature. In fact, this remarkable story shows us just how incredibly powerful animal instincts can be, and how a creative and ethical human being can skillfully use that instinct to their own advantage. In this way, creativity in solving security issues can even directly originate from nature. Perhaps eagles are not the sole solution, but they are certainly an intriguing example of utilizing nature to effectively tackle contemporary problems.